Okay, what's up, everybody? This is the Reuben Show. This is an extra episode. I'm going to post this right after I post the trucking one, so you're going to get two of them. Fat Panda, what's up? You just missed it. I just talked about the whole trucking thing. We're going to talk about sports here. I just listed that one, anyways. So I'm shooting my episode of the Reuben Show, but I'm live here, so you guys can comment on sports. So the Philadelphia Eagles just lost to the Dallas Cowboys, right? And now it puts the Cowboys back in first place. The football gods want the Cowboys to win and to be in the Super Bowl. It seems like I'm not even a Cowboys fan, but they got the they lost and they're still in first place. So now they all they got to do is win 3 games and they're in, right? And so when you look at what happened with the Eagles, for some reason just couldn't put it together. They had a stagnant. Now they're going to blame it on Jalen Hurts being sick and they pumped him full of stuff, but they're in a 3 game losing streak. They're petering at the end here. That is not the time to kind of slow down, right? So if we're looking at next week, I was talking next week about, you know, the Cowboys, right? So the Cowboys get beat. They get demolished by Buffalo yesterday, right? They took the L. Everybody's like, "Oh, they're done. We knew it." Blah 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 blah. Now, because the Eagles lost, they're back in first place. They're back in first place. You know, the challenges with the Cowboys, and let's just call them what they are. They have a hard time playing on the road. They have a hard time for some reason. These guys have a difficult time just playing on the road, right? What do we have for next week? Dallas plays Miami at Miami. That's another tough game. If they can't get the victory on that, which is going to be tough, I don't know. Baltimore plays Frisco. That's another good game. New York plays Philadelphia at Philadelphia. You should be able to get that victory. So the pressure's on Dallas. They got to play Miami, and this is a tough schedule for Dallas. They're playing some. This is 3 good teams in a row, right? And so you can't say you can't win everything, right? But if you're looking at going deep in the playoffs, you got to beat Miami. Miami is a good team. They have a good team. Tyreek Hill's probably not going to play. He's probably not going to play because they got to get that guy 100%. And one thing I got to talk about is let's talk about the Cowboys have CeeDee Lamb. He is like by far their biggest receiver in terms of numbers, right? If they lose him, you're not going to be able to throw the ball to anybody. And Dak Prescott needs his standby. Dak Prescott does it. He's playing really well, but he needs CeeDee Lamb to be healthy. And the reason why I say that is Miami has the same problem. Tyreek Hill is the number one receiver, bulk of the yards, almost 1,600. They if they lose them, it changes the dynamic. Miami won yesterday against the Jets. The Jets are not really that good of a team. So Miami got a lucky one, right? They're going to play a Dallas team that sees that they have a chance now to win their division again because Philadelphia lost. Philadelphia was supposed to win this game. And also, too, it changes the playoff dynamics. It's crazy, right? Because now, because of Seattle winning, it puts them at 7-7. You have all these teams that are vying for the playoffs, and you have Dallas in the number 2 spot, Philadelphia in the number 5 spot, and you have 4 teams at 7-7. So now that puts the Rams, the Vikings, the Saints, and the Seahawks all have the same record. They're heads up match to match. But if any of them lose a game, of those 4 teams, 2 people are going to win out their last 3 games or whatever they're going to do, right? 17 games, you go 10-7, you're in the playoffs, right? You have Tampa Bay at 7-7. Let's see what division they're in there, right? So Tampa Bay, could they lose their division? They could lose. New Orleans is tied with them. Um, New Orleans Saints can get that victory, right? So you have Tampa Bay 7-7, right? So you pretty much have 5 teams fighting for those last 2 playoff spots, right? If the Cowboys and the 49ers keep winning. Now, Philadelphia, the pressure's on for the Cowboys. They have a tougher game than Philadelphia. Philadelphia is playing the Giants that are all over the place. They're having trouble. They're inconsistent, but the Cowboys, it's going to be a harder time for them. But who's going to show up, right? Is it going to be good weather in Miami? Yeah, most likely, right? So the Cowboys do good with good weather. That's the way they are. They're a fair weather team. And so Is CeeDee Lamb going to be healthy? Is Dak Prescott going to be on one? Is he going to be motivated to get that victory? The Micah Parsons and the Dallas defense, which was, the best, they somehow just kept they couldn't stop. They just couldn't stop Buffalo. Now, is Buffalo that good? Buffalo might not even make the playoffs, boys and girls. They might not even make the playoffs, right? They could, but they probably not, right? If we look at the playoff picture, right? Buffalo is ninth in the running at 8-6 because on the AFC side, you got to have a winning record to make the playoffs. You have 11-3, 10-4, 9-5, 8-5, 9-5. You have Cincinnati with the number 6 spot, which is surprising to me, but I think they've been healthy. And then there was they were talking about this they were talking about this on all the sports stuff. They were talking about how um the healthy quarterbacks are the teams that are getting healthy. And so health is probably a bigger factor than all these things. If you look at like consistent play and everything, quarterback health, other player health, offensive line health, it's huge. It's a big factor in what you're looking at here. And if that's a statistic where like all the healthy teams, you have, Kansas City limping in, right? Who are there? Is Travis Kelsey going to be healthy? Travis Kelsey or Jason? Travis Kelsey going to be healthy the for the Kansas City Chiefs. If they lose him, again, this is the thing about the amazing receiver, the focal receiver. If that person goes down, what's going to happen, right? I think Baltimore, if you really look at it, they have a bunch of receiver weapons. I think Baltimore is best suited for somebody going down. And then you have Jacksonville, right? Jacksonville has some good players too, and Cleveland's going to kind of sleep in there. There's some teams that can withstand that, there's a couple teams here that have these number one receivers that if you lose them, the drop off is giant. And that's a problem because again, we see this with Miami, Detroit. Detroit at 10-4, they're in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. This is crazy, right? That Dan Campbell experiment that they've been doing is paying off. They have a good team. Jared Goff, former Los Angeles Ram number one pick, is having a second career. And a lot of these high draft pick quarterbacks, a lot of times when they get shuttled out, they're never the same. They don't do better. And it seems like Jared Goff is getting better. And if that's the case, then we're going to see this in the playoffs. Are they going to go? Is it going to be a deep run in the playoffs? I also talked about, and again, I kind of canned this episode yesterday because it was a little bit incomplete. I wanted to make the sports episode where we saw the conclusion of today's game because Philadelphia lost, and so that changes the dynamics of everything. Cowboys are in the driver's seat; they just got to keep winning. Again, they have a hard. Next week's going to be a hard game to win. Miami's motivated; they got to close out the playoffs and solidify their spot, right? So everybody's going to be motivated. I don't know that Tyreek Hill is going to play or be 100%. I think they're going to save him, and but again, there's pressure right all over the place, right? But let me talk about this too. Is the Las Vegas Raiders are pretty much out of the playoffs. Statistically, they're not, but the Las Vegas Raiders are technically not out, right? But it doesn't look good, right? But here's the question I have for the Raiders people, right? And Las Vegas Raiders, I want you to chime in, right? Did this temporary coach that got the temporary coaching job by being able to be connected to the people, and he kind of has this Raiders commitment to excellence kind of mentality that we haven't seen amongst all these coaches. The revolving door of coaching in Las Vegas. This young guy, seems like he has some grit to him where you hear him talking about silver and black. He grew up in Compton, so he's been a Raiders fan and he's coached and he's come up, and I like his vibe, if you want, if the like how the kids talk about it, his aura, right? And so he's won some games. Las Vegas is not in the dumps. They're 6-8. They could potentially, probably not likely, they could potentially be 9-8 and end the season with the winning record. Will they make the playoffs? Highly unlikely. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely. Let's say, for example, he wins 2 out of the 3 games remaining. And you go in there, and what do? You win the 2 out of 3 games remaining, and now did he earn enough victories, right? Did he do enough, right? To did he do enough to keep his job, right? Did the Raiders find their guy, or are they going to look somewhere else and try to disrupt everything again and try to get a coach that doesn't fit with the motif or the vibe of the Oakland, Los Angeles, currently Las Vegas Raiders, right? I don't know that you need a coach that is necessarily better on X's and O's. I think you need a coach that channels John Madden and the grittiness that is the Oakland Raiders slash Las Vegas Raiders. You need that. I don't know that what the Raiders are looking for is necessarily out there, right? You can also think about Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, I think, would be somebody that has the right attitude. I think to be the Raiders coach, you have to have the right attitude. You got to be a little experienced. You got to be you got to be somebody that's willing to get dirty. You got to be willing to somebody that puts themselves in the driver's seat. You got to be unconventional. You got to connect with your men in a way that's not X's and O's. You got to be able to relate to them. You got to maybe go have a beer with them. Maybe go have a brewski with them. Maybe go gamble a little bit with them. All I'm saying is the Raiders, they have that pedigree and that history of just win, baby. And I think that this guy, if he wins 2 out of the last 3, hell, if he wins 1 out of the last 3, that'll put him at 7-10. They expected this season to be garbage because the coach that they had, what is it, McDaniels? He drove the team to the ground. He was nobody near what needed to be. And so if you look at that, I like this idea that you give this guy a 3 to 5 year chance. He's relatively unknown. He's fresh blood. We got to stop trying to recycle all these guys that are traditionally like perfect, right? I need somebody that's going to be willing to get in there and just to be nasty with it, to be unconventional. I need somebody that's going to make some mistakes, but not in a bad way. What I mean by that is you're going to have good intentions, you're going to have pure intentions, and you want to be a Raiders coach because you like this idea of being the silver and black, the rivalry. You want to be able to have a rivalry with Kansas City. You know how amazing these games would be if if the Las Vegas Raiders were good. The Kansas City Chiefs, they don't even consider the Las Vegas Raiders, even a challenge anymore. What happened to that? That was the best rivalry that we used to watch because it was just dirty. There was going to be fights. They didn't like each other, and that's just the way it was. Now, Kansas City's way up here. They're winning Super Bowls. They're doing all this other stuff. If we can get somebody back in the attitude of silver and black, we're going to punch you in the mouth. We're not going to play fair. We're going to get in trouble. We're going to do all the stuff that we're not supposed to do. I think the coach that they have right now, the temporary coach that the Las Vegas Raiders have, I think that's the person. I think they found their guy. I hope they don't go away from him. I hope they don't hire a college coach that's like, "Oh, we have all these victories and we have 17 NCAA top." We don't need Nick Saban in Las Vegas. We don't need an ego. We need a young, inexperienced coach in Las Vegas to make it super interesting. And we just need to be dirty. We need to deal with what the cards that we have. We need to keep the players we have and just build the roster in a different way. And I think if they can do that, I think it would make them interesting. And there's a history with the Raiders and the NFL. There's always kind of at odds, but I think that they need to stop trying to not be the ugly stepchildren. They just need to embrace being the ugly stepchilds of the NFL or stepchild of the NFL. They need to embrace that and be okay with that because you need the bad guy. You need the bad guy in these things, and the Kansas City Chiefs are in their same division. And if you could get the ball rolling on that rivalry again, that's must see TV. That's Monday Night Football. That's everybody's going to want to watch that game. And it being in Las Vegas, the Glips, they have a new stadium. The Super Bowl's going to be there. And it's just, it's what you want. It's what you want. We got to just win, baby. We got to just win. And so I look forward to that. But I wanted to talk about that. And I did. I talked about that, but I canned that video because I was like, that's not interesting, because I wanted to talk about all the stuff that happened this week. And so, anyways, so in the NFL, you have some good storylines, right? And so you have some teams that are going to be making the playoffs this year that traditionally haven't made the playoffs. So we have that to look forward to. We have some new blood. Miami has always been struggling to make the playoffs. You have Detroit on the NFC, and you have those two teams. You have Tampa Bay in first place with Baker Mayfield, who got written off by the Cleveland Browns. Right? What if he makes the playoffs and Cleveland doesn't? Although Cleveland, has a chance, but Tampa Bay could win their division. They're in the driver's seat, right? You have New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr. He got let go by the Las Vegas Raiders, not because of his play, but because of the coach didn't want him to succeed, because that was another coach's pickup. So McDaniels wanted to put his own guy in there who didn't work out at the beginning of the season, and then somebody got hurt, and it just never worked out. Derek Carr only got let go by the Raiders because of McDaniels, who's no longer there. He didn't even last a season because his style was horrible, and he just gets recycled, recycled, recycled. He's probably good at a coordinator spot. McDaniels, I don't know if he's good to lead the whole team. Then you have San Francisco, right? Just beating everybody. They go on this small 3-game slide. I don't know why I have boogers in my nose. 3-game slide. They've won 6 in a row now, or 5 in a row now, 6 in a row. They're 11-3. They're beating everybody. They beat good teams. They beat the Cowboys. They beat all these teams, and so they are the team to beat in the NFL, right? And so you have all these storylines, great, 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 great storylines. You have Minnesota hanging on, trying to make the playoffs. What are they going to do, right? Their quarterback is in shambles, but you have one of the best receivers in the game. He's just getting healthy. So the season was almost lost before it started. You had the hopes of the Jets and this Aaron Rodgers coming back. That's a side story that has no impact on anything about the playoffs and the next part of the NFL season. But it's still interesting. You have the Houston Texans. You have that. What is it? T.J. Stroud, this young kid that is doing things right. And then you have the receiver in Los Angeles, this Pukanuka kid that is breaking all the rookie receiver records. You have all these storylines. This is what's amazing about the NFL. We could talk about this ad nauseum. But I loved all these storylines because that receiver in Los Angeles, here's an interesting thing that's happening about the receiver in Los Angeles. That rookie is competing with Cooper Cup, who had one of the best years statistically year before, and he got hurt. And he's been nursing himself back to health, right? Is this rookie kid going to be the reason why Cooper Cup doesn't get an extension or doesn't get a long-term contract? Or are they going to use this kid, develop him one more year, and then use him as trade bait? The Rams got lucky with this kid from BYU, and he's producing. So now you have this late round kid that is doing good. Actually, I don't know if he's late round, but anyways, the point is that they have this kid that is doing really well. And you have Cooper Cup, which is an accomplished receiver. Can they keep it together? Are they going to have two receivers? That's going to be like a quarterback's dream. You're going to have two accomplished, capable receivers that are young and vibrant and ready to go. Now, Cooper Cup, can he stay healthy? Are they going to let him go? Are they going to trade him and use him to get another component, offensive line or running back or whatever it is? But the Rams have something there, right? They have something there. They're 7-7. Can they have a winning record? Yeah, they could do all that stuff, right? But where are they going with that? I love that story too. That's another great story, right? Is this the last year for the Kelsey brothers, right? They keep talking about this swan song. Jason and Travis Kelsey, they look like they're maybe not like Jason Kelsey looks more energetic than Travis, but you never know, right? They've had long careers. They've won Super Bowls. They're champions. They're winners. They're probably Hall of Famers, right? We don't want to assume that, but you can make a case for them being Hall of Famers. And so what's going to happen? Are they going to continue to play? Is this their last year? That's an interesting story too. So all these storylines, man, it's amazing how the NFL just never stops. Tyreek Hill from the Miami Dolphins, wide receiver extraordinaire, he was trying to break the single season receiving yardage record, and he was on pace up until he got hurt. He's going to need a lot of yards to even tie that record. He's at 1542 right now, 1942, so he needs 400 yards in 3 games. He's not going to get that because he might not even play the last game, and he might not even play this game. That was a good storyline. He was on fire. He was playing. He has 12 touchdowns, 97 receptions. If he plays one more game, he goes over 100 receptions, and he's having an amazing year. Even if he played no more downs, that's still an amazing year for him. 15.9 yards average. It is what it is, right? There's him. Is he going to play? Then let's bounce to the rushing, right? You have Christian McCaffrey, Mr. All-Purpose everything, 1,200 yards receiving, 1,200 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns, right? But how many receiving? Let's look at his stats. Let's look at how many receiving yards. I want to say he's almost at 2,000 receiving. He has 509, so he's almost at 1,800 yards of total offense between receiving and rushing. This guy's a threat. 7 touchdowns. He's at 20 touchdowns already for the year. Christian McCaffrey, the running back, he's doing it. 5.3 yard average. That's amazing. 244 carries. He's getting the ball all the time. San Francisco, without him, if they lose his offensive production and his threat of receiving and running the ball and his speed and his tenacity, 49ers ain't gonna win no games. He's got to stay healthy. But he's also they can't let off the gas, right? They got to continue into the playoffs. If they get home field advantage throughout the playoffs, does that help Dallas? Right? If they get home field advantage versus, let's say, let's just say if Philadelphia won the NFC and they got home field advantage throughout the playoffs, you're going to have to play in Philadelphia. It's nasty weather. The Cowboys don't play good. Frisco doesn't play good in bad weather. They're just not fair. They're fair weather teams. Now, if Frisco wins the NFC, does that help the Cowboys more than it helps Philadelphia? That's the question, right? What about that storyline? Another storyline. All these storylines, we can talk about ad nauseum, and it's all there, right? Individual players, right? Again, I'm looking up stats right here, and we're looking at quarterback stats. You have the fresh blood. You have Tua, Brock Purdy having a great year. Nobody's going to pass for 5,000 yards. By the way, nobody's talked about that. The 5,000 yard quarterback. Defenses are figuring out how to slow all these people down, right? Because it's kind of crazy because when you see defenses being productive, when you see defenses, kind of putting themselves out there, it's either your feast or your famine. You're starting to see this now where it's either your feast or your famine. Either you shut them down or you just get blown out or you're having a shootout. That's what you're seeing more and more now with the NFL. You still have some parity there. Parity is a little bit lifted where you have some dominant teams in the AFC and NFC. AFC has more parity than the NFC. Again, that storyline, right? Why is that happening, right? And then there's a ton of stories, right? If we want to go deep into the stories, there's the other storyline where you had on the sidelines, right, where you have non-player or coach involvement, where you have Tyreek's personal photographer. He gets kicked out. He gets suspended by the NFL because he became part of the touchdown celebration, right? Then you have one of the security people on the sidelines of the NFL. He gets involved with the player. He gets suspended. Right? What are your thoughts on that? That's a whole story in itself, and maybe I'll bring that up where it's like and in a nutshell, the way I look at it is you're not part of the game. You have a role in what goes on, but you're not the talent, so to say, right? The players, the coaches, the refs, it's that environment. You can't interject these other people because then it's going to start getting out of control. And I can see why the NFL has strict rules in this because then it'll start becoming unruly and unmanageable because there's just too many people, too many moving parts. The blanket policy of just nobody gets involved but the players and the coaches and the people on the sidelines. Like, you just have to maintain control that way. I can see why they suspended him, and it makes sense. Is it right? Is it wrong? It doesn't matter. The point is that the format of the game is such that you don't get these photographers involved. They take the pictures, they do an amazing job. The sideline security does their job, but they're not supposed to be interacting with the players like that on the public stage. That you got to have control. And so yeah, that guy got suspended. Yeah, these people get fired. Yeah, because I'm sure it's explained to you at nauseum of what your role is in that whole machine that is the NFL, because it is a very controlled machine of how things work. You know, and a lot of people don't realize that, but if you look at it, it's a very it's a very well-oiled machine. They got it figured out. The NFL knows what they're doing. It's like these games that they post on their streaming servers on NFL.com. Sometimes they let you watch the games that don't get the greatest ratings so it can balance itself out. Right? If you have the obvious game that everybody wants to see, yeah, that's great and everything. But if they choose the games to show so you can balance out the viewership, and it's all by design of why you show certain games. That you can go into that too. It's master marketing, right? The NFL is very smart about this, where you want to balance out all the teams and all their identities and all their brands, but you also want to showcase them on the national stage, because everybody watches. People still watch football like that. Live sports is a huge, 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 huge thing for cable and regular TV, and it still plays a big part. And so the NFL understands this, or the people in marketing, they understand this 100%. And so they use that, right, to tell these stories. That's why there's a reason why certain people get highlighted, like on the Sunday pre-shows and these other shows and these talking heads. There's a reason why all that works. Just like you have a lot of cowboy people in the media, there's a reason for that, is because the Cowboys are one of the most. How much time do I have left? 3 minutes. The Cowboys are one of the most popular teams in the NFL. They've been having the attendance record ever since they opened the new stadium. Attendance record, home and away. They have, I mean, by far the Cowboys are the Cowboys are kind of, the team that everybody watches. They're the most popular team. So of course you're gonna have all the Michael Irvins, Troy Aikmans, Johnstons, Jimmy Jones, Jimmy Johnsons. You're gonna have all these people. Yeah, the Reuben Show. What's up? What's up, Dapper Bill? And so that's what you see with this, right? So there's a lot of control there, but they're beautiful storylines. You can follow them, and every team has a little bit of it, right? But I thought that was interesting to follow. And as we go forward, we only have a couple weeks left, and this is when everything kind of like the mirage kind of opens up and everything kind of shows himself. But anyways, enough about that. So those are the stories about what I thought were interesting, the storylines that we got going on. As the week develops next week, we're gonna break into some other stuff. But anyways, are the Cowboys gonna make the playoffs? Are they gonna win their division? Are they gonna win against Miami? Are the Philadelphia Eagles gonna win against the Giants like they're supposed to? Is Frisco gonna keep on winning and dominating? Are all these things gonna keep on happening? Right? And that's what's cool about the NFL. And that's why it's like a grown man soap opera. Anyways, we're going to tap out here. We're almost at 29 minutes. Like and subscribe. If you do those things, your hair will grow back. 100% your hair will grow back if you like and subscribe and you leave one comment. If you don't leave a comment, your hair might not grow back. But I guarantee your hair will grow back. Bet. Actually, it's not true. But because, somebody's going to probably try to sue me. But anyways, it's a joke. It's a joke. Thanks for watching.